My name is Ross Holmes, and I'm a fiddler. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. My parents were fairly musical, but they weren't professional musicians. My grandfather, my mom's dad, was a doctor in Fort Worth, and he played the fiddle. He probably felt like that's what he actually wanted to do in life, but because of World War II and having to go through school and then join the Army, he became a doctor and always played the fiddle. So my sister, who's 3 years younger than I am, she started with fiddle when she was 5 years old. I was 8, and after a year of her taking fiddle lessons, I kind of marched in the room one day and said, "This is how you do it," or at least I thought, "This is how you do it." And my parents immediately put me in fiddle lessons, and ever since then, it's been the instrument that I have been in love with, enchanted by, really. My experience growing up was quite unique in terms of music. I started at a young age with the traditional kinder music program. I lived very near TCU in Fort Worth, and they had a great program for young kids. So I started out with glockenspiels and shakers and little rattly eggs and the whole bit. And there was a piano teacher there that I took lessons from, starting at about age 5. And I enjoyed the piano, but then when I started playing the fiddle, that's really what captured me musically. It's really when I started to listen to music at large, particularly string instruments, particularly the fiddle. Most elementary schools didn't have a strings program, but our little elementary school did. So I actually played cello for a couple years, 4th and 5th grade. I played cello at Daggett Elementary in Fort Worth. And then when I was in the 6th grade, I had been singing with the Texas Boys Choir for a couple years, and then when I was in 6th grade, I joined their touring choir, which meant I had to go to school at the Texas Boys Choir. And every morning I'd show up, and from 8 to 10 or 8:30 to 10:30, we would sing. We'd have warm-up time and then work on all the pieces for the repertoire. And it was an amazing experience because that was the first time I really got to go tour around. I traveled all over the U.S. with the choir and sang in beautiful halls and beautiful churches and got to collaborate with other choirs and other musicians. And then my 7th grade year, I was homeschooled and spent most of my time focusing on music when I would finish my lessons for the day. And I wound up skipping 8th grade and going into high school a year early. That's sort of where I realized that period of life was when I realized that music was going to be my calling, the thing that I really wanted to do more than anything else. So bluegrass music was founded by Bill Monroe. Created by Bill Monroe. He was really the first credited with this particular sound of fiddle, banjo, mandolin, guitar, and bass. Out of that initial performance came this incredible interest in the sounds of these instruments played in this particular way. Truly American music, really. And over the years and decades, waves of bluegrass have happened. You had newgrass, which was sort of invented and created by Sam Bush and Bela Fleck, those guys in the 70s and 80s. And then you sort of came into this era in the 90s where people were imagining bluegrass music. It wasn't really so. I remember in high school, people listening to Dave Matthews, who was really picking up steam and becoming a huge artist, and the sounds were everywhere on the radio. But people said because he had a fiddle, oh, he's bluegrass music. Well, to me, it made sense. He had a fiddle. He was making American music, bluegrass. What's more American than bluegrass music? Maybe rock and roll, but that was already worldwide. So you had this American thing, this bluegrass music. And then a very interesting thing happened with the movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" and the subsequent tour Down from the Mountain, which was spearheaded by T-Bone Burnett. Funny enough, T-Bone Burnett went to my high school in Fort Worth, which is, pretty cool. But Down from the Mountain happened, and it sort of reinvigorated the idea of American folk music. People, again, fell in love with the sounds of the mountains, if you will. And you had bands like Nickel Creek coming onto the scene, young players, beautiful musicians, incredibly gifted, just technically amazing. Chris Thiele and Sean and Sarah Watkins and Byron House on bass, just amazing music. And that spawned this whole new level of playing in this generation of musicians, people wanting to play with this amazing technical proficiency while maintaining the sounds and traditions of folk music, bluegrass music. And then came Mumford & Sons and Old Crow Medicine Show and these bands that took that ideology and took it one step further by incorporating more energy and more rock and roll nature into this music. And now, as a result, you can find a banjo in most every music store you visit, which is an incredible thought to the idea of folk music. I mean, I have no idea where it will head with the next generation. It's hard to guess where it will go without having a crystal ball, but I imagine because the foundations have been built so firmly, from the original bluegrass music to newgrass to now, and this generation of progressive bluegrass acoustic music, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep in our culture, and it's very accessible to everyone. I think it will last and linger for many, many decades to come. My favorite video game, I didn't grow up playing a lot of video games, but my favorite video game is the one I'm kind of stuck on right now when I do get a chance to play. It's the new Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It's an amazing video game aesthetically. It's very fluid. The music is incredible. I don't know who did the music. I feel ashamed to even say that, but it is so inspiring. Set in the period of the mid-1800s in London, the Industrial Revolution. It's incredible. I'll literally turn the game on and just listen to the music. I'll run the dude around the map so I get some new music. It's pretty. I don't even do anything. Like, I'll climb top of a building and hear this beautiful like flute and violin and cello thing. It's just like, wow, this is incredible. When you're a young musician and you're getting going, you're spending all your time practicing. You got your amp turned up as loud as you can, and you're playing every Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix lick that you can try to learn, and you're developing who you are as a musician. And then you get to that next level where you're creating and writing music. And then you're trying to put a band together and see where that goes. But then over time, this kind of funny thing happens where you really start to find your sound. You start to find the thing inside of you that identifies you as you. There's a famous quote by a Texas fiddle player, Johnny Gimbel. If you try to sound like somebody else, who's gonna sound like you? I heard that as a teenager, and it made so much sense to me because I was trying to sound like my heroes, the fiddle players that I admired and respected so much. But then I heard that quote, and it made all the sense in the world to me. If I try to sound like them, they're already them. I'm not gonna be them. I need to be me. Maybe somebody will pick up a lick or two that I'm playing, maybe not, but at least I need to have my own identity as a player. And so over time, in my career, and I think for so many musicians, you start finding your sound, your own voice, and then that's what people start wanting. They start expecting that. Having moved on from Mumford & Sons, I've been touring with Bruce Hornsby and Warren Haynes, and I have these opportunities to play with these guys because I sound like me. I'm not ever gonna lose sight of those that came before and the great respect I have for these amazing musicians, not just fiddle players, but anybody that's ever had the guts to try to pursue a career in music, I just respect wholeheartedly. And that's sort of where I find myself now, is in this position to continue to grow. I don't sound like who I want to sound like personally yet, but I have my own sound, and that's why I have these opportunities now, I guess. And the thing I can only encourage young players to do more than anything, it's important to learn these solos, these guitar solos, these piano licks. Learn how to sing like your favorite singer. But they already did it. You have to find what makes you unique, what makes you stand apart, and really just how you express yourself more than anything else. That's the beauty of music. It's endless. You got 7 billion people on this planet with infinite outlets and opportunities sonically to express themselves. It's just finding it and realizing it and going with it. So tacos are absolutely probably my favorite food. You can put anything in a taco. Hell, you could put a piece of pizza in a taco and it would be incredible. God. All right.